Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. A slightly knackered, frazzled looking version of myself. It's been a long day, a long 24 hours or so. Why you would ever, schedule a Premier League fixture for 8:15 at night in the first place is beyond me. At the London Stadium, or Athletic Stadium as I prefer to call it, because it's very far from the pitch. Hey, I understand why West Ham took the deal. If you're a club, it's a very good deal to take, but my goodness, you're a long way from the pitch, and especially when you manage to sit in the one seat where the replay monitor in front of you is not working. Speaking of Daniel Levy, the one bit that I said, probably Spurs aren't too keen on people focusing on, but unfortunately it just is a thing, and it is something that is looked at every single year, is the fact that because of the nature of this and then what you have to publish in your financial accounts as a company like Tottenham, part of it is the salary and any potential bonuses for your highest paid director. So while he's not named, the highest paid director we know is Daniel Levy, the chairman of the football club. And every year this seems to provide a rather awkward moment when, and it's two sides to it. If you're going to look at it on a human level, nobody really likes their salary to be put out there in the public domain. It's not great, but I guess also the flip side is Daniel Levy knows that's going to be the case. That is his job. He could go into a private sector or whatever with any other kind of business and earn way more than he gets at Spurs, and it would never be disclosed. You see some of these kind of the banking types that just incredible bonuses they get and things like that. But yes, it's more with Tottenham, as is always the case, the timing of these things. So if you haven't seen it yet, I think a lot of the newspapers are going on it either today or in their newspapers in the morning. But Daniel Levy was paid in the last financial year, not this one, the last one, £3.581 million. That's gone up from £3.265 million on the previous 12 months. You could argue, I know we're talking kind of semantics here over a very big salary. Technically, the rise between the one before that and last year's was more, because it was a £500,000 pay rise he got, which I remember being a big thing last year when that report came out. This year, it's only 300,000 pay rise. However, it's probably not the wage that has caught the eye this time. It's the fact that Daniel Levy received a bonus, an accrued bonus of £3 million paid across the year. So it was the first bonus that he's received since back in 2019, which he got then for the completion of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Technically just under a year late, but it was completed, and it is what it is. It is an amazing, amazing stadium. And actually, then he got a £3 million salary, but he also a bonus, but he also got a £4 million salary that year. I think, unless I'm mistaken, it would have come down when they took a cut during the pandemic, and whether it stayed at those levels, maybe that's what it is. So when I talk about timing, the reason that bonus was received pretty poorly was because it came and it was made public in the annual report that arrived around the time, not long after, I think, that Spurs, if you remember, announced their, this was back in 2020, that report would have come out. They announced that they were furloughing staff, and then that was later reversed, that decision as well. So obviously back then it was like, what? Levy's getting a £3 million bonus while staff are having to, lose or the club are furloughing staff and things like that. So it went down like a lead balloon back then. Obviously, technically, he'd got it a year before that, but it's the nature of the report coming out when it does that makes it look even more, I guess, horrendous. We fast forward to 2024, when half a decade later, Daniel Levy's latest bonus kind of finds him in the same position again, for slightly differing reasons. So a £3 million bonus has been revealed, technically a year ago, but it has been revealed today. Kind of a couple of weeks after the club have announced they're putting up season ticket prices by 6%. Recent estimates of what the club will receive from that 6% boost, yeah, you guessed it, it's around £2.5 to £3 million. The similarity in the figures is, of course, going to turn heads. I don't think anyone, hopefully, is really genuinely believing they're connected. It was a year ago, so I don't think anyone really genuinely is saying they've put up the prices to pay Daniel Levy's bonus. But obviously, the similarity in the figures is going to make a lot of unhappy people look at that. I would say there's two different questions I'm going to put. And don't worry, they're still kind of taking a pop at the whole thing. One is that you kind of feel like, with everything in this report, it shows how much this stadium generates and how many avenues there are to generate money from it. The question about the season ticket price rise, and also the senior concession season ticket issues that we've spoken about at length in the last couple of videos. Do you really, as a club, need to take money to meet your rising costs out of the pockets of the fans? Do they really need to do that? The fans have been through a lot. Last season was pants, especially. Do you really need to take the money out of your beleaguered fans' pockets and take it away from the older fans as well, the senior ones, when there's clearly so many avenues to increase your sponsorship, increase this or that or whatever? I just feel like looking at this report makes you realise, with whatever it was, £560 million revenue, do you really need to claim that £2.5–3 million back across a season from the fans themselves? It doesn't sit particularly well, does it? And the other question I would ask when we talk about the bonus and Levy's bonus, and I'm sure other people will ask this, is that it's not my place really to say what anyone should be paid or whatever. But what I would probably say as just an outsider looking in is that after a year which the club was utterly chaotic, it was, of course it was, and on the pitch, obviously more so than anything, they had 4 different managers within a spell of months. They finished, 8th in the end. No European football for the club for the first time in 15, 16, whatever years it was, might be 19 years. And not to mention, we just spoken about the club making an £86.8 million loss in the year. I would be surprised, but maybe I wouldn't because of the way the business world works, at the chairman of any other company maybe getting such a hefty bonus after a year like that. I don't know. Again, I'm not a financial guy, and it may be that I kind of feel like I remember reading stories and outrage at someone getting a major bonus after a year in which someone's made lots of losses. So maybe. But I guess that's what I would say, is rather than, I wouldn't probably put the link between the 3 million and the 3 million in the season ticket price increase. I would probably say those twofold, in that, do you really as a club need to take the money out of the fans' pockets when there's other avenues you've shown that you can kind of get stuff out of for the sake of something that, I know it's a lot of money to people like us, but in the grand scheme of things, 2.5 to 3 million is something that a club can find elsewhere. And also, it's an interesting year to get your first bonus in half a decade after. For me, it was probably the least successful year that Spurs have had since that 2019, I would say. I mean, there may be other things tied into it. He may have met certain key performance indicators that he was meant to. Maybe it was revenue. Maybe it was certain other things. I don't know. Maybe it was something with targets based over the previous seasons. Again, this is the issue with looking at just pretty much a sentence in a report. So I could be doing a massive disservice, but on the face of it, it's a bit like,